Did Joshua really conquer any of these cities? Well, the Bible certainly tells us that he did. But then in addition to that, like we see archaeologists have discovered and uncovered these cities that are ancient, that have been destroyed. And when they dig them up, they find, like, for example, Ai, which is the city that they conquer right after Jericho. The topography, the architecture, the location, the fact that it's destroyed with fire and it's dated right to around 1400 BC fits everything. You look at Hazor, we're told that Joshua and his armies burned that to the ground. And you look at the historical record, it's destroyed with fire right around that time period. You look at Mount Ebal, where it says that Joshua builds an altar of uncut stones. And in 1987, an altar of uncut stones is found there on a mountain that Moses said was to be a mountain of cursing. They find a tablet that's all about cursing. So, like, when we're digging around, we're finding evidence that matches the biblical record.
Okay, so for this lying-ass liar, because that whole interview is just such a mess. I had to, get into my notes on this one, so I got to get my reading glasses on. So this gentleman who continues in this whole process where he is trying to break down and trying to verify the Bible through utilizing archaeology has just proven himself on many videos to which I have responded to his interview as to be a, pretty much a lying-ass liar. And if you know, you know. ShineUniverse.net. So when we look at some of the information that he just said on this video, and we have another one that's coming up, he first mentioned the city of Ai. And the city of Ai, according to the book of Joshua, was just completely destroyed after they had destroyed Jericho. Now, of course, the problem with this is that both the city of Jericho and the city of Ai had been abandoned for from the year 2400 BCE to 1200 BCE. Now, supposedly, he was going through this town and doing his things in and around the 1300s. But at the earliest that those cities had people in them was around 1200 BCE. And the walls of Jericho were not up. They were down since 1500 BCE, but were not put back up until around 1000, which is supposed to be in and around the time frame of the Israelite kingdom. But what we see here is that between 3100 BCE and 2400 BCE, that the city of Ai had been built and rebuilt multiple times, burnt down multiple times, and none of the burning time frames actually fit the time frame that he is speaking of. So, lying-ass liar. Now, when he mentioned the city of Hazor, the city of Hazor is interesting because the city was burned around 1200 BCE, but most scholars are debating on whether or not it was done by Israelites who were coming through, or if it was done by the self-infliction of civil unrest based on the fact that it was going through the time frame of the Bronze Age collapse. So you had the people in that area not being under Egyptian control anymore, fighting one another left and right. So was it that, or was it the Israelites? It is actually unknown, and since Israelites are not mentioned till 1204, when they were defeated by the Egyptian king on the Meneptah Stele, it is very unlikely that it was the Israelites who was destroying it. And you actually don't get the city of Hazor being built until after around the mid 10th century through the 9th century BCE, which would be in the time frame of the Israelite kingdom. So it's most likely lying-ass liar. Now, as far as Mount Ebal, there's a whole lot to unpack here. The first thing is that the site that they found on Mount Ebal, they're not even sure if it's a site that was an Israelite site. One of the things that is hotly debated is the fact that it is not most likely a site of Joshua's altar. Now, there are most agree that the site is a ritual site, and at some point in time it was used by Israelites. But you have to also recognize that the site was built in more of an Assyrian style instead of being built how Exodus explains it, meaning that it was a wall-filled structure with steps for the altar, but according to Exodus, it was supposed to be be built with wooden boards and no steps. So it's not built the same way, but there are elements of Egyptian artifacts that have been found there, where scarab beetles and earrings, but also Hyksos findings have been found there as well. So It's true that it is a ritual site where they found the bones of animals that have been burned in sacrificial manner. But the problem is, it could have been a site for anybody, for different people, whether it's Hyksos or Egyptians or Assyrians. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was Joshua's altar. And oftentimes when you go to Israel, one of the things you'll find interesting that they just say this, they find a spot. This is Abraham's house. This is where Abraham was buried. But there's actually no archaeological evidence of it. Just especially during the Crusade time frame, they just picked a spot that seems similar to what the Bible spoke of, and they made that the spot. Now, then when he gets into the cursed tablets and he starts talking about that was the part where he really kind of like killed himself in showing this part, because the fact of the matter is the cursed tablets was something that was just thrown out on social media without any peer review. And one of the main reasons why I believe it was done that way is because the dig itself at Mount Ebal was an unpermitted, illegal dig that was done by evangelical Christians. Now, in this area, Zone B, Area B of the West Bank, this is supposed to be an area that is governed by the Palestinian people. These evangelical Christians don't give a crap about that government and just waltzed in and start doing their own digs. Now, the digs were illegal. Now, when they found what they call the cursed tablets, it wasn't found at the dig site. It was actually found with the scraps and trash from the dig site in another nearby settlement. So you can't really place the cursed tablet at the dig site and say that it was found there, and you can't place it as far as a timeline, since there are multiple historical people who have been in this spot where the cursed tablet is. And so it was just broadcast on social media, a picture of these tablets, and they're so frail that they can't be opened. And they use kind of like a X-ray, a different type of X-ray, to be able to see what those bumps in the text might be. But those are just bumps. And because they're bumps, people just drew what they wanted to draw. When peer review have been able to look at what people have created and look at the pictures, then what most of them find is that they have just created letters in much of a word salad, and then the word that's used for curse is a word that is used by many other Semitic people during the time frame. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it was Hebrew. And as far as the word Yahweh, it is not the oldest rendering of Yahweh, but the word Yahweh that is used there in its style is also used by multiple Semitic people. For instance, like the Mesha stele, where the word Yahweh was used, but this was used by Moabite people. So the Moabites also used the term Yahweh because they worship within the Canaanite pantheon, and they were Canaanites themselves. So simply put, the cursed tablet is most likely a forgery. If not a forgery, then it is an unknown product that could represent multiple different Canaanite people, whether it's the Mitanni or the Hittites or any other Canaanite version of tribalism that was in that area. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the Hebrew. And you can't verify that it was found at that spot. So that guy, his video is great, little cannon fodder, but we know what he is. And if you want the t-shirt, then go to shineuniverse.net. Click on menu, click on team. You see this guy, get the shirt. Really appreciate it. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.